We're in the show.
Remix. 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 Remix.
What it do, niggas?
What's up? Morning.
What's happening?
Oh, you was late because you went to put some grease on your face.
That
It look like you going to your first day of kindergarten. You got your new shirt on. It's pressed. Your sleeves is cuffed.
I also just want to say he wasn't late because he's here right on top. So.
Oh no, I don't mean late for this. I mean late for the pre-show that y'all don't know.
That's what it is. It's true. How you doing, Amber? Morning.
Fine. Are y'all ready for Winter Storm Aaron?
No, I was not, and it's thrown off a lot of plans for folks.
What you was gonna be doing?
We were trying to do some work in that area, but it looks like it's ice, and they said don't come. So we listened. But y'all, wait, you're in the thick of it though, no?
Yeah, we stuck. Okay, we finna
Yeah, I was about to say you right in it.
This nigga made a video on TikTok. He said, if you see the storm right here, and if you're right here, you're dead. And I said, why are you pointing at Memphis?
It was, the West Virginia, Tennessee. I had somebody who was saying that too. That
like, if you're over here, you're going to get a lot of snow. But if you're right here, you're dead. I spent 3 hours yesterday going to 8 different stores to find Fairlife milk for my Nana because she's lactose intolerant and she ain't got no damn milk. And I eventually had to order it from Target because I had no other options. So I'm sorry to the boycott baddies. My Nana needs milk, child. The power gonna probably be out for a week here, so she gotta get some. She needs some milk. I had to make sure
you stocked up on supplies. You ready to go?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, I'm not prepared, but I am prepared. I bought a shovel yesterday.
Okay.
And I tried to buy some salt, but they didn't have none. I bought those little things you put over the water faucet. Okay. What else I got? I had somebody call Trader Joe's to see if they have lasagna soup in stock before I drive there. And they said they get 6 boxes this morning. So we need to get off on time because I got to go 30 minutes to the Trader Joe's to get the lasagna soup so I can survive the winter storm myself. I don't know why you're making that face.
I never heard of that in my life.
Lasagna soup is delicious, and everything that they make at Trader Joe's tastes good. And I just like eating soup when it's cold outside. Somebody in the chat said generator. I don't have a generator, but I do have an inverter. I have 2 inverters actually that I can put in my car if I need. But I also have 4 power banks, one of which they can charge my laptop. My backup phone is charged, my iPad is charged, and my work phone is charged. So I think I'll be okay. The backup phone, I charged it, then turned it off. And it has like service. So if my other phone dies, I can use that phone. So for the most part, I should be okay.
Okay, so we got a phone. We have water, so you won't,
I do have water. I did buy water on Sunday. I don't have a flashlight. I'm going to go buy a flashlight today.
Okay, yeah, and then I guess you don't want to use your phone in those situations. Okay.
I literally just made a video about emergency preparedness telling people to not use their phones and to get a flashlight with batteries. Well, I don't have a flashlight and batteries, so I'm going to go buy a flashlight and batteries.
Follow your own advice. I like this lasagna soup. It does say it's for cold situations.
It's delicious. It is so good.
Yeah.
And it's got a high amount of protein. It's just so tasty.
Oh, hold on. Okay, it's cheap too. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I shop at Trader Joe's. I feel like people don't understand that Trader Joe's is cheap.
I'll add it to the
I can eat on that one bowl of soup 2 times. That's $5 for 2 meals.
Yeah, it's true.
That's what I'm saying. But yeah, I think
that do sound like some weird shit, bro.
It's just like lasagna without the noodles. Because I don't.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think of lasagna and soup.
It tastes good. I don't like the lot of cheese, and I don't like the noodles. So I like the lasagna soup because it has like the taste of lasagna without that stuff.
Oh, that's one of my favorite parts, though. The noodles and the ricotta.
Oh yeah, I don't like any of that.
I
Yeah, I
see.
think people are mostly afraid because of the Memphis doesn't have a good power infrastructure. And we do get a storm like this every year, but not this bad. Last year's storm was more of an ice storm, but it wasn't as bad as was projected for this time. And I was only out of power for like a day ish, not that long. But some parts of Memphis were out of power for like a week, week and a half. So
Mm.
it depends on like where you are. And they kept sending us these text messages to stop using power, to stop running our dishwashers, to not use like don't what they say, don't use your stove tops and cook. Like they said, like just stop using power for several hours at a time because the power grid was overrun, like feeling strained and overrun. And I was like, this don't feel like my fault though. This feels like y'all's fault for not having a good power grid because you're not doing the things you need to do to upgrade the power grid, but you keep taking all our money. So they feel like a y'all problem. And people were not listening to them either. So that made it worse. But I mean, I get it though, because it really is their problem. They be overcharging us and then you telling us not to use our shit and we're all inside. Josh, you muted. I don't know what you were saying.
I was gonna ask, do y'all have like a culture when you have big natural disasters coming through? Like down here, there's a culture around hurricanes, where people will obviously stock up for supplies, as you said, but it's a party sometimes, hurricane parties. Sometimes people are off work or off school, so it becomes a thing. But I don't know
They
about.
have already canceled work in school in some places. My little cousin goes to UT Martin, which is like
Mhm.
in Northwest Tennessee. They already canceled for Monday and Tuesday, which I think is because we had an ice storm when I was in school there, like 6 years ago, and it was a whole big thing. Some pregnant girl fell and sued the school because they ain't closed down. So now when they have inclement
Mm,
weather, they be closing quick. And they already like the hospitals have already sent out notices here that they're gonna be like limited and other stuff. I saw Latif's comment. He said people still waiting 2 days to prep but get hit every year. So we do get a storm around the same time every year. But I do think the prep is different because like yeah, you need food and stuff, but here because of the power issues, it's different preparing for that, right? Because everybody can't afford generators. I don't have a generator. I can't afford a generator, but people can buy power banks. So people have been buying like power banks to charge like phones or like medium sized devices, and then like just making sure their kids are straight. But I mean, I can't stock up on food ahead of time if I don't like really know, what's going to happen, which I think is the other thing. People aren't sure because there was a lot of different meteorologists saying different shit. I'm not even gonna hold you. They was all over the place. And so people were like confused. So nobody knew how much to actually prepare because everybody was all over the place. So now that they're for sure, because they said it was gonna snow on Wednesday. So now that for sure it's gonna happen on Saturday, people are like rushing to buy food, but that's because we were confused because y'all didn't give us the right information. And the one weatherman we had that was the most like efficient and knew what he was doing, he got fired a few years ago because apparently he said some racist shit on Twitter, but I didn't even know it was racist.
wait, what did he say? Now I'm curious.
His name is Joey Solopic. We call him the weatherman. That's my nigga though. I ain't gonna hold you. I felt like what he said wasn't that bad, but he was watching the Grizzlies game and he said that one of the players was knuckle dragging the ball, and they said that he was comparing him to a gorilla, and that was racist. And I said, "Is that something people say to black people that were knuckle dragging? I've
Knuckle
never no one's ever said
draggers,
that to
yeah.
me."
Yeah, that's one of those like,
So
when
somebody
they
said that, and they were like, "Yeah, it's like a historical thing." I was like, "I've never heard
I was
it," but
about to say,
why y'all didn't put the nigga in cultural sensitivity training or something? You didn't have to fire him. It
he
was so
called him
weird because no one wanted him to be fired, but the Fox 13 news station fired him, and we were just like, well, just tell him what he did was wrong and make him go to some training. But nobody in the city was confused. I think because we don't use the term knuckle dragging, so I didn't know it was like racist. We say other shit, so I didn't know. And then everybody was explaining to us, like older people was explaining how it was racist, and I was like,
I mean,
okay.
uh, dumb, unintelligent. They're like violent and rough and all that. Like that's pretty.
That's racist, but he said knuckle dragging the
That's what knuckle
ball.
drapper mean though.
I
Like
don't know.
knuckle.
Yeah, I've
Like the
never heard
ball, like the
knuckle dragging a
basketball.
ball though. Yeah, I was a little confused when you
Well,
said it though. Good.
that's even worse though. Well, I guess because it's almost like that. It's a reductive to athletes. Like you're a big black, because you know how they say the black folks are better in sports, but you just big black dumb violent thing that
You can't do
plays
nothing but
sport.
play basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found out when that happened that a lot of people had never heard that term before, or older people who had heard it. I also felt like he did not use it correctly because somebody in the chat saying it means dumb too. I don't think he used it right because he was talking about how the guy was dragging the ball. It was a playoff game, so you know the
Yeah,
Grizzlies gonna be making it to the playoffs, child. So people was real angst because we don't be making it to the playoffs like that. And somebody dragged the ball, and he was like, he's knuckle dragging the ball, and I was like,
yeah.
yeah,
I'm a little. I'd have to hear a little more about that. I
I
feel the
don't know.
same way. I was gonna say knuckle drag is one of those like
And
old
I was
racist insults
confused.
where
I
you
was
got to
like,
like take the book out and blow the dust off, and you're like, oh shit, this is
yeah.
a jigaboo and all these old ones.
So when
But
people explained it to me, I said, "Oh, that was racist." But he's
yeah,
never done
yeah.
anything racist
I've
before. So
never.
I was like,
I
y'all
mean,
forgive all the other white people. Y'all couldn't give him one chance.
yeah, especially Fox. They had how many sensitivity trainings for all the men who have cases on their network. So yeah, they could have
He
given
said he was
Weatherman a
sorry.
shot.
He didn't like give a BS apology. He was like, he really does apologize. He was like, he felt very bad. So I was like, I mean, yeah, I have to fire the nigga, but it's whatever. So now we only follow him on like Facebook so we can get accurate information because he's the only one that's correct. The rest of them be messing up stuff and people be confused. So now people are rushing to get food because he's explaining. He also explains things well. I think the other issue is that like meteorologists would just say, there's snow coming here. He breaks everything down to give you like timing and stuff like that. And that kind of helps people kind of figure out like, oh, how serious is this going to be? So now that we
Right.
know it's serious, I said, let me go ahead and line up my shows on Netflix. I'm going to redo my braids on the side, like right here, so I can wear these jumps for like 2 more weeks.
I think you over exaggerated on how bad it wasn't because that's pretty
Oh,
bad.
so
Draymond runs his knuckle dragging open mouth all game long. That's
Oh,
not.
that is bad.
Yeah.
but mild mannered
In my defense, the
Kyle
only
Anderson.
screenshot I saw was somebody saying he was running a ball and knuckle dragging. So, because I don't be on sports Twitter,
Yo, this is
and this
crazy.
is
So
like,
here's what I was gonna say. I was gonna be like, well, he comparing it? Yes, this is racist, especially because
it was
Draymond
bad.
is big and black and all of the things. I was gonna be like, but he talks about Kyle Anderson. Maybe is Kyle
Who's
Anderson
Kyle
black
Anderson?
too? Well, here's a question. He is a brother. No
He got a
question.
white mama.
You can't know mom or dad, but yes.
He's probably a
So
white mama.
he is comparing him to quite a light person. So I would say
Yeah.
that is
Hey, who is
yeah,
this
that's
dude?
messed up. So he says Draymond Green, like you said, runs his knuckle dragging open mouth all game long. Yeah, that was ridiculous. But mild mannered
Man,
Kyle
Kyle
Anderson. So he was
Anderson.
trying to contrast Draymond and
Mixed
Kyle.
Kyle
So
Anderson.
right. So he's still yeah, he's a little racist. I think it might have been a little worse than the sensitivity training. But
Yeah.
such is life.
Joey's done. But yeah, he got fired. He been on the weather thing for a long time. He got a regular job now, apparently, but he never talks about it. But he ain't been a weather person, but he still be doing weather stuff on the internet, and people follow him because he's the only accurate person. Last year, somebody said, "Hey Joey, when the snow coming? Because I need to know when to invite my sneaky link over." And this nigga responded, and I said, "This is what we were talking about." Because
Good.
white people be knowing how to like play the culture role well enough to like stay cool.
I mean, don't y'all remember
Yeah.
LeBron had the picture looking like a knuckle dragger grabbing a white girl with one hand and the
That's
ball?
No,
exactly what I thought about. And that white girl
I
was
don't know what you're
actually
talking about.
Tom
But
Brady's ex-wife, Giselle Bundchen. It was
who?
for Giselle Bundchen is she's a white Brazilian model who was
I don't know who that
formerly
is.
married
Oh, Tom
to
Brady, the football
Tom
player,
Brady. Yes, yes, and
the one who
LeBron
went and
did.
quit.
Yes, that guy, and then who also has a very interesting relationship with his family. and Sun. But
I be
anyway,
thinking, somebody said they be watching storm tracers on YouTube, and I be thinking about watching them too. But I also don't know if it'd be beneficial to watch in a snowstorm versus like tornadoes.
well, I wanted to hold on one second,
Yeah, pull
because
up
we
the
definitely want
picture.
to jump back. This is the picture of LeBron with Giselle Bundchen,
That's
and
just a weird picture.
a lot of people obviously said it's reminiscent of King Kong, and you could say
Yeah, a
no.
little
You
bit. If
could,
she was leaned over a little more,
oh,
like she was in his lap, it would really give King Kong.
yeah, well, it's hilarious that you said that because LeBron, of course, as always, defended his handlers, defended the white capitalists, and said, "This isn't racist. I don't see it that way. I was super happy to participate in this, and this is what we talked about." I don't
Vogue
know if you did
always
on
does
this
it to black
channel,
people too.
but this was something similar with Tashina Arnold, where she was saying, me and Martin used to roast back and forth all the time, so don't worry about the colorism and all that. It wasn't that bad. I'm okay. So this is something a lot of individuals do to
Yeah.
ignore systemic critique of what they did and their behavior. But I did want to point this out because this is immediately, even you knowing that it's in the lap, shows that in your head you knew this. So this was a subconscious thing. You've seen it before you can make it, which means the creators knew it
Because he was
100%.
defending it.
100%. But here's
Oh,
a
with his
side by
same
side.
color dress and everything.
Exactly, Amber. This is what I mean. Don't let people play in our fucking face.
That is racist.
Yes. So, we already saw the kind of politic LeBron's on with his Lorraine Motel
But I also don't
colorway sneakers.
understand.
But
Oh yeah, I saw that too. It was weird. But I also don't
yeah,
understand why people be expecting Vogue to do right by black people. They always fuck black people over. Like the photographers suck. They never have good stories. I don't read Vogue, but I see the little covers and stuff, and they talk about them all the time on Instagram about how they be doing somebody dirty again because they never have good like photographers who photograph them, and they never give like good in-depth stories. It's all just very like base level.
yeah, I
So,
agree. And it is what it is. At the end of the day, that's like you said. But they could hire better photographers who don't, bring up
I
Jim
wouldn't.
Crow era
I would
racism.
never do it based off of the history that Vogue has had. I have been saying black people should stop doing covers there for a long time, anyways,
Yep,
because they kind of have a history of doing that. Like one time, okay, two times, it's a pattern. It's over and
yep,
over.
yep. I'm sorry, I referenced the Tashina Arnold story. I realized I didn't bring that up on air, but it was a quick video of Tashina Arnold on Deion Cole's show. Deion Cole himself is a bit of a
Mm.
mess, and in it, she was describing her experience coming up with Martin. Let me see if I can find it briefly.
Because I know a lot
Uh,
of people talk about how they don't like Martin because of the colorism. And I
yes,
think that celebrities think that by saying that they're okay with it, that changes it, but it doesn't. Like people still are not okay. Like they still
yeah,
don't. And I think that
100%.
she thought by saying that people be like, oh, okay, well she said it's okay, but that doesn't change people's opinion. They still don't like fuck with it. It doesn't change my opinion. He's still colorist. Like
Right, right. This is Samanda Podcast Industrial Complex. So this is an hour 46 minutes with no timestamps, which is a little rough for me. So I won't be able to find it, y'all, but I'll add the link in the show description. But in it, it's what you said. She describes. First off, it comes from an Ari Lennox conversation where Ari says, "Growing up watching that as a dark-skinned black girl, it was psychologically harmful for me." Facts. And Tashina Arnold basically tries to gaslight her and say, well, that wasn't what it was about. I know you made it felt that way, or maybe your friends interpreted it weird. Y'all have to kind of look at you, but for us, it was fine. Now, the story she provides,
they
again,
said,
is
can you put the
already,
story in the, can you put the link in the chat?
yeah, sure
Somebody else
thing. I'll
said,
put the,
boo, Josh would have found it.
that's so funny. Yipper and this twin conspiracy. Um,
I believe the
so
conspiracy, Yipper.
there's two of me. I wish. I just dropped it. I don't know if it was able to go to YouTube, but if you feel like sorting through that, and again, links and sources always in the show description. But she was starting off by saying that originally the character was written for a heavy girl, and that was what all the jokes were about. Were about being
That
heavy
makes
and
it
so on and so
worse.
forth. Exactly. Exactly. That's the problem. So her first thing was like, well, I wasn't. She's like, well, because I was not heavy, I knew those jokes weren't going to fly. And I'm like, okay. So because the jokes didn't apply to you, you were kind of cool. So now they switched to these jokes. And she's like, so what are the jokes all going to be? And the jokes are all now like ugly, mannish, all of these things that we saw coming up on the show. And it's just like, well, why are those jokes now suddenly a thing for you? And then when contrasted with Gina, your best friend, who's very light. So absolutely colorist, even if she couldn't recognize it. But I do think that speaks to what we said with LeBron, that celebrity impulse to be like, not me, or I was cool with it. So y'all out there, y'all peons actually having to deal with the consequences on the ground, stop complaining. So
what you think, Eugene?
You
dark skin.
Thanks. You coming in hot today. Yeah, I'm just curious that the way you're I guess since you're coming at me so hard today, it sounds like you was a white apologist earlier when you was like, oh, it's not that bad, he shouldn't be fired, he should just take some training classes, and I'm like, but you're a policy organizer, so like racism is beyond just saying some weird shit. It's like it's deeply political and whatever. So are you just like suggesting policies to make niggas say, I'm sorry, I'm gonna take some training classes, I'll be okay?
No, I really didn't think that the quote was that bad. I only remember someone saying he said something about knuckle dragging a ball. I actually never saw, until you read it right then, I never saw it. I don't follow sports, so I didn't read the full thing. I'm sorry, my bad. But I do want to say that Memphis News has a history of keeping harmful people in their jobs who have done a lot worse. There was a black girl, not black girl, she's white. It was a white girl.
You doing a lot of black and dark today. What's up, man? You all right?
I was trying to remember if it was black and white.
I was trying to get you a trainer today.
No, but it was this white girl who got a DUI. When she had got off the clock, she ran someone over and the person died. She still has her job right now. They never even mentioned that it happened. So I think that him having that one racist encounter, but then the same person at the same station hitting someone and they die because you had a DUI and you still have your job. I don't see that they aren't like, it's not happening parallel. And other people at that news station have said racist things multiple times. Like they've done stories that had racist innuendos and they were never fired. So I just thought it was weird that one tweet got Joey Solopek fired, but the rest of them is like, we can let them slide. And they were all white too. So
I think it's like a counter weapon though, like, because what you're saying is so for instance, Fox would do a thing because most people believe that racism is just somebody saying some shit. So Fox will distance itself from somebody who said a thing and still be completely racist. But because they let somebody go who said a thing, I don't know. So I think
it's confusing because they didn't separate themselves, because they still have people who work there that have said racist things in stories. Like they've written stories that were racist innuendos, like starting off of the crime is bad in Memphis because of all these black people. All these black people are violent. And those are the type of stories they were writing. And people pointed out they were racist and they took the stories down, but they never fired those people.
Right.
But this person had a tweet up they said tweet was up for like maybe 10 minutes. He deleted it. He apologized, but he got fired. So I just think that it's not a clear application of what we think is wrong. I agreed that it was wrong and racist. And the dude apologized and has like really tried to fix shit afterwards because he understood that what he did was wrong.
Right.
But Fox 13 as a news station has a history that Sinclair, that's what it is. Sinclair Broadcasting has a strong history here in Memphis, especially of only talking about violence that black people are doing and only talking about racist shit in a majority black city. They don't talk about anything positive on purpose. And you had literally a news anchor, she was a weekend anchor. They had a DUI and killed somebody. And instead of them firing her, they have her doing voiceovers for stories. So people will be like, hey, this is that girl's voice. We know that this is that girl's voice. Y'all didn't fire her, but she still has her job.
Yeah, I hear you, Amber. The way I was saying it, there are a few possibilities, right? But you're right; they will selectively enforce that because, as I pointed, well, you pointed out just with that station itself, but then broadly, they will 100% defend people with all sorts of cases. So it could be a situation where it's useful to employ that as an excuse, right? Maybe he was coming up on retirement and they didn't want to pay him out, right? Maybe there were other issues that he
They knew it
had
was
behind the
coming.
scenes. And
They
you never know. Like, there's a lot of things that I'm just agreeing with you. There's an ulterior motive there. They're selectively applying it for a certain reason. Maybe they wanted to get him out of there already, and this was an excuse. Maybe
I
it's the
definitely
level of
think there's a reason.
backlash.
You don't know about it, but there's a reason.
Yeah, yeah. So, that's
But
why I
no, I'm
agree.
not
But
colorist, Geechee. I just thought you might have an opinion because you are dark skinned. So people who have that lived experience usually have a
we
different
know you
opinion,
weren't.
especially around
That's
color.
actually even worse now. I mean, because
How is it worse?
I'm a dark skinned
I
nigga, so
have
I
a
gotta
different
have
opinion
opinion.
about certain jokes.
What?
Like, I'm not
I
usually
agree.
bothered by light skin jokes, but I am bothered by fat jokes. So I think it depends
Yeah.
on like the person.
I was
I also want to
bothered by
bring
it.
up
So
Brittany comment because this is how I feel about it. Yeah, he was wild for tweeting it, but he does have useful skills, and I was surprised that they didn't send him to some kind of training or like take him off air and he had to put out a statement or something. Because when I say that he actually is the best meteorologist we've ever had, like, people have survived storms because of Joey Solopek, and he does not have a job no more. He's literally just posting on Facebook, but we're following his posts on Facebook so people know how to prepare. He was the only one that was that good. This other guy, Ron Childers, he was good at first, like 10 years ago. I feel like now that he's older, he just isn't as good as he was before. His predictions and like explanations are not good. And because the weather is so wild here in Memphis specifically, we really need accurate like reporting, and he was really the only one.
Yeah. Someone joked, D1 says he was fired for apologizing. That would be more in line with Fox News, actually.
You think so?
I'm joking. I don't,
I don't
there's
know if it's
the
reflected or
local
not that I don't watch
stations are
the
different.
news, but
Yeah.
this is the point I'm trying to show that I don't watch the news.
Well,
Well,
there's a black woman meteorologist in Memphis, so I don't know why.
Who?
I don't know why the white man is the best.
Who?
Look her up, Danielle or something. I just found a black meteorologist.
Let me look it up.
there you go. You got an alternative.
No, she probably sucks.
We don't know that.
There we go.
If you're a black woman with a job, I'd actually been on the opposite. But
that's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. I don't think I don't think a black woman, as you said, working in whatever that thing is,
meteorology.
What I'm saying, I don't think that she gonna suck like you say. That's gonna be.
Oh, she works at ABC 24. That's why we never heard of her. They're not accurate.
No.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to table
I
this.
found her, Danielle
and do
Moss.
some
She's at ABC 24. She's
We're gonna do some experiments. We do not vouch for the accuracy of that assessment, Danielle. So if you're doing good work,
I trust Chelsea McNeil, so I'm gonna look her up.
Chelsea McNeil. All right, see, we got some things to research.
I take
Amber, I know you gotta get.
I
know you gotta get out of here, and then
Google.
also we got a guest coming at 9:15 to discuss the boycott.
I put a story in the chat that I want to talk about too before the guest.
Sure. Okay. Well then,
news. Y'all act like we're gonna be doing our news.
I mean, we about to slap the map, and we gonna start with your story. So let's do it. I saw it too, Amber. Peace and good morning, everybody. It's the Friday remix, piece of the infamous chat. As always, thank you for joining us. You can like, share, subscribe. You can sign up on Patreon and support us there. You can also bless us with a super chat. Pastor Kamal's not here to collect, but we do take them every single day. But
Amber is here. And if we had a demo, I would give that to y'all too, but we don't. So make sure you subscribe to the Patreon. I do, need your funds. We need it coming in. Yes. I have a dog. Y'all have seen him and heard him. He has expensive dog food. So you need to make sure that you're supporting the channel so I can support his lifestyle.
That's our extra remix member. So please make sure that they are supported. So you started us off with this story. Yeah, we have a lot of stories today. So I just want to, we could go anywhere we really wanted. So let's start with this. So Trump rollbacks put children's health at risk as pollution increases. So why do you want to cover this story, Amber? What stood out to you?
Well, I
You
specifically
want to
wanted
read
to
a little
cover it
bit?
because it talks about like pollution rates and asthma rates. And as I've talked about before on the channel, Memphis is the asthma capital of the world. We have an F grade for air quality, and children in South Memphis and North Memphis specifically have the highest rates of childhood asthma than like any other city per capita. And children in 38109, which is in South Memphis, miss the most amount of school for asthma related illnesses than any other zip code in the city. And so I just want to show people that like this is an actual real impact that people here already are experiencing, but it can get a lot worse with these different rollbacks.
Do you have a general reason why the air quality is so poor in
It's from the
Memphis? Is there a
pollution.
history? Okay. And has that always
Yeah,
been a thing, or is that more of a recent phenomenon for the
it's
city?
always been a thing. There used to be an army depot in Memphis that kind of caused contaminated soil and air, but the air quality in Memphis has kind of been downhill like for most of my life. And I know that the F grade for air quality, we've had that for like 20 plus years. And a lot of that has to do with like a lot of the industrial facilities. We have a Valero oil refinery here. There's like, I think 7 toxic waste facilities still open right now, including TVA. So they're poisoning the air. And even though those facilities are in South Memphis, like the pollution travels, right? It doesn't stay just in that area. And so this is the air quality for the whole city. The whole city has bad air quality because of those facilities that are running 24/7. They got methane gas turbines running. They got the oil refinery has like those big, plumes from the oil refinery machines and stuff, and it smells horrible over there. So the air quality just has never gotten better, and these kind of rollbacks are really going to impact that. Do you want to read some of the story, Lord?
Yeah, absolutely. This was okay. The 2019 blast. So they're discussing a previous issue on the morning of January 10th when the federal government said it would stop prioritizing how many lives are saved by cutting air pollution. Sonia Sanders flashed back 7 years to when a fossil fuels facility near her South Philadelphia home exploded. The 2019 blast rattled windows across the city and could have killed thousands if the wind had blown another way. A cloud of toxic pollution spread for more than 7 miles and impacted more than 1 million people. Then she thought about the quieter emergencies that never make the news. The asthma attacks on the rise in her community. Increasingly, youngsters in her neighborhood tug on inhalers at night or are left wheezing after walking past truck choked roads to the bus stop. Philly kids are more than 3 times as likely to have asthma as the average American child, a pattern tied to spikes in particulate pollution from the factories and highways that ring the city. I'll close it here. Making matters worse, Black children in the area are hospitalized over 4 times more than other white children for asthma related illnesses. Now, the Trump administration is saying it will no longer value these health impacts in the same way that it values business profits. The US EPA will still mention health effects from pollution, but will no longer assign them a value in the cost benefit calculations that determine how much pollution a facility can emit. Wow.
And
Thanks
I
for
was
raising
really
that.
concerned about it because of the asthma concerns. I know like a lot of people here in Memphis have asthma. Like a lot of my friends who grew up in South Memphis have asthma. I don't have asthma, but I actually had to get an inhaler last year, a dual inhaler, because of the level of smoke in the air. Because I'm allergic to smoke, but because of the level of smoke, because smoke has increased and the toxins have increased in the air, it's made it worse. And so I had to get a dual inhaler. And even the lady was like, your lungs are really struggling. But I could tell this is recent. I was like, yeah, because of the air quality. And she was like, so it does have like real impacts. And also, I think that Trump is using these kinds of rollbacks, yeah, because he likes, businesses in corporate America, but also as a way of like modern warfare on Black people. He's even rolling back the type of like vaccination they're saying people should get. People feel weird about vaccinations. Like some people don't like the amount of vaccination children should get. But the basic ones, the important ones, they do matter. And there's a reason why we're seeing measles infections randomly popping up in South Carolina because we have presidents who are pushing this idea that you don't need to get a measles vaccination as a baby. crazy. Or rolling back the FDA guidelines, which are causing a lot of food recalls. And last year, I actually got an E. coli infection, something I ate. I don't know what it was. My doctor says it must have been something that was recalled. I've never had E. coli in my life, ever, until we have a president that's rolling back the type of regulations that we use because he wants it to be easier and he doesn't think that it's necessary. He said that we don't need all this red tape. And now people are getting sick. Like some of my friends have gotten food poisoning multiple times who have never gotten food poisoning before. I've never had any kind of food poisoning type of thing. I didn't even know what E. coli was like that for real. I was like looking it up, like I'm confused. And they were like, yeah, we don't even see this often. So it had to be something that got recalled. But like real actual impacts of this type of, presidency. And I would not have found out if I didn't have insurance to go to the doctor because I waited a long time before I was like, I think I got a fever or something. Should probably go to the doctor. And I waited a very long time to go because I was trying to just fix it myself. And I was like, no, I think there's something wrong. But I had to go to an actual doctor. And yeah, it was not something I picked up at Trader Joe's, Latif. Actually, it was some salad mix from Kroger. Thank you. The shit I had at Trader Joe's ain't never did me dirty. I ain't gonna hold you. So somebody asked about non-containment. Leah asked about non-containment in the chat, and I did want to pull this up because there was a violation filed by the city, by groups in the city last year, talking about Memphis being in violation of federal air quality standards, specifically around the non-containment thing that Leah talked about. And it's kind of a more like in-depth topic, but I did just want to say that that was an issue last year that they were found in violation of that, and they're being sued about it right now. The SELC, which is the Southern Environmental Law Center, is suing it's XAI and TVA and petitioning them against EPA standards, saying that they're not following something. So I don't know where it is right now because right now they're still in like the lawsuit like phase part. But I know that was something that came up, and I just want to make sure I responded to what Leah was asking about.
This story has something to do with any of your work to stop, I guess, data centers or AI stuff? Elon Musk, wasn't it like because y'all have so much air pollution, Elon Musk was exacerbating it? Is this story connected to your work?
Yeah, that's such an inquisitive question, Geechee. Yes, that was why I wanted to talk about the story, because of the asthma rate stuff. I'm not gonna hold you. I actually was like in shock when I had to get an inhaler because I have never had issues like that. But a lot of my other friends have said they have been having breathing issues too. They don't live anywhere near South Memphis. And so I think it's important to talk about like this is happening to people who don't live near where this place is, but it does impact the air quality and your lungs being able to function. And we have a lot of people in like Philadelphia, like the story is talking about, but also in the South, the deep South, who like have children who are really struggling with asthma and they aren't able to like catch their breath. Like that it's not able to be fixed because the air quality isn't changing and it's actually getting way worse.
Yeah. The stories of this being a global issue are important. I also really appreciate how the article framed it as a quiet catastrophe, because that's exactly the kind of thing you're like, wait, is this happening to me? And then you talk to your neighbors and you talk to people close by and you're just like, wait a minute, something is going on here and it's really, really affecting us. And I think that as one of those many genocidal methods that you were talking about with the US that can be used on our cities and on our people. So I appreciated that. I also think it highlights political economy rather than attitudes. Again, we talk about why racism happens to us. It is because these corporations want to be able to make as much profit as possible, destroy the planet, and not have to pay for it because it cuts into their profits. So absolutely. And also, you brought up the vaccines, and I do see those as related, because all of these environmental protection agencies, you talk about the FDA, the EPA, are supposed to be doing these things. They are all supposed to be science, evidence-based formed institutions, and then they don't do their job. So then people lose faith in the so-called science and evidence-based things that all these doctors are claiming behind vaccines. So there's a direct relationship. And when I had to join a community panel about why people aren't getting vaccinated in Florida, all of these doctors were sitting on the panel and and health administrators and talking back and forth around each other, smelling each other's farts. And I was just like, I mean, people don't get off work. There's ice at these places. And that was what got brought up during the meeting. And their response was basically, we ain't got shit for you. And I'm like, exactly. So you can sit on high and lecture people for why they don't trust these institutions, but you have nothing to actually protect them from what these institutions do. So that was something I did get a chance to drop some PE in that conversation, though, for our folks around vaccines, because I do think there's a historical confusion there. We love to say Black people invented everything, and sometimes things that Black people did not invent. But in one of these cases, we actually did. And so that's why I get a little confused on the vaccine conversation, acting like they're a white person's invention. So I love bringing up Onesimus. Onesimus was an African, likely a con man, who was instrumental in the mitigation of smallpox in Boston, Massachusetts. Now, I don't know why he saved the settlers. That's a question we can ask ourselves. But he introduced his enslaver, Puritan clergyman Cotton Mather, literally named Cotton, hilarious, to the principle and procedure of the variolation and method of inoculation, which prevented smallpox and laid the foundation for the development of vaccines. So, while we know these major institutions don't do what they're supposed to do and protect us, science is not the white man's birthright. It is not the white man's invention. In fact, quite a few societies in Africa were more advanced in certain ways than European societies. So we did invent vaccines. That is actually something that we can claim.
I agree.
That's because we're not using our ancestral wealth. That's why.
Oh, you the Wednesday.
Yeah, like Joyce said.
Okay,
I actually was going to bring that up too, Lord, about how Black people did invent everything. And as you were talking, I was looking something up because I wanted to talk about it too. Because I do agree that like asthma is considered like more of a silent thing, but it is like it really does impact a lot of people. There was a Black woman I follow on Threads whose daughter passed away from an asthma attack, and she was talking about how her daughter's with her father, and her father had never took the asthma serious, and so she had an asthma attack. She didn't know how to help her, and a lot of Black kids pass away from asthma attacks. And I know when like EMT services were invented by like a Black man, one of the main things he talked about is that he was answering a lot of calls for children with asthma and trying to get them to the hospital in time. So it is a silent killer, especially for Black children, just because, asthma is it can be really hard on people. Like one of the influencers I follow, her daughter has asthma. She talks about it all the time about like the breathing treatment stuff doesn't work as well as people think. It's really nothing they can do. Like she's practicing all these different things, but like if she just can't catch her breath, she can't catch her breath. And I know that that's really rough for a lot of people with children because they're like, what do I do if this becomes severe? Like, how do I get them to the doctor? And they are all connected, like the vaccines, the EPA regulations. I don't know if I ever mentioned that both of my parents are scientists. So I grew up with a parent who was showing me like what bird flu and herpes look like under a microscope is like a 10-year-old. And was like trying to really get me into science. And I was like, no, I'm good. And I was never into it. But I also grew up with parents who explain things like you were saying, Lord, like providing political education. My mama never made me feel shame for not doing something. She explained stuff to me in a scientific way and a realistic way. When we were talking about COVID stuff, she was actually on a panel for our official Bill in Memphis chapter here to explain vaccines to people so they felt more comfortable getting one. She explained each different type of vaccine. She explained the basic science behind them. She explained the allergies people have. Because so many people were asking, like, what's the point of the vaccine? Like, what do I get it for? And she explained, like, the herd immunity and what that, like, looks like and how they've done that in the past with these other things. So it really helped people feel more comfortable. And not everybody got a vaccine. I don't pressure people to do it. I think that you should do what feels best for you. But I think you should have the information. And so many people were scaring people, like you were saying, those doctors, just like, up there talking medical speak. No one understands what they're talking about. They're not thinking about the safety of people. They just want you to go get it. And that doesn't help. So I definitely agree with that. My mom has always really made me feel like that's one of the more important things is that we make people feel comfortable. We don't shame them for stuff, but we do provide them with information. And I do believe in science. I know that science is a real thing. I've seen her work science. I've done experiments myself. I know what it looks like. That doesn't mean I get every single shot that exists because I haven't. I actually didn't get a whole bunch of shots. I went to Africa because they make you get a whole bunch of shots. I've never been like
for that. They understand science too.
Yeah, I've never been a huge vaccine person unless I really needed it. Like unless I need that vaccine, I don't think you should just go and get it. But I get like I got the measles one and shit like that. I had all that stuff, and I was like, What do you mean we gonna tell kids they don't need to get a measles vaccine?
Again, like you said, ever today, the same way. It's first off, it's terrifying to watch a child have an asthma attack. That's something. It just makes you feel powerless as a parent. So I just want to highlight like how horrible it is. It is a quiet catastrophe. You talk about influencers, but Vince Staples has a common story about that. How his mom used to tell him not to leave the window open when he fell asleep, and he fell asleep with his mouth open by the window, and he says he has asthma. After that, from the pollution in his neighborhood, and that was out in California. We have someone else, Smurtis Curtis, who shared the Canada fires. So it's international as well. The Canada fires and the chemical fire at an auto plant affected me in Detroit. I now use an inhaler. So even that, this is something America does, or those Western nations do. Japan had a nuclear meltdown, Fukushima, I want to say 2014, and the water ended up in like Maine because we live in a global system. So just highlighting that. Second, it would have been great even in this BLM streets, because we had some confusion back then, to have Mama Amber on. So it seems like we're gonna have to invite her on the show one of these days, because
somebody
that
said
was
shout out to
great.
Amber's parents. Just my mom and my daddy, he get on my nerves. But mama,
shout out to Amber's mama. But absolutely, I think that's what we need to have, is actual people with that health education who actually care about the community. And but as you said, other countries
like scientists and doctors and stuff, and it's always cool. My mom is in an infectious disease lab scientist and a microbiologist, so it's always cool to me when like they be having these like infection breakouts and they have the microbiologist on the news talking about it, because the only time I hear from them. But my mom does it like every day. She's dealing with infectious diseases and talking about different stuff. And it's always so funny to me when she works at a children's hospital. So when people get like sexual diseases in the hospital, and the white people in the lab be acting shocked that someone had gonorrhea, and they're like, yeah, because she probably was giving oral sex or received oral sex or something. And they're just like so shocked that someone could get that in their body. And they have to explain to them how it happened. It's so funny to me. I was like, this is why you need sexual education in schools and not abstinence only. Because children are trying things. This is like a 16 or 17-year-old, but children are trying things and they don't know what's happening. So they're just trying it out, testing it out, and they don't know what could happen to them. And then they end up getting sick, and then they have to go to the hospital and find out they got gonorrhea.
Yep. I have another story, since you got me on the educator side of things. Because I love that. I've seen good sex education. I've seen kind of mid sex education, but really good ones are very much like that, Amber, like real life case studies and asking people, can this happen? Because a lot of youth don't know, like, so is oral sex, yes or no? And then you have the class answer questions, and you'll see a lot of people are split on it. So I've seen that done for sex education, which is really good, where they ask, do you know if this is the thing? Ask a lot of basic facts and check kids' understanding. And then I've seen it for education on gender and sexuality as well. Asking kids, do you think this is a thing? Have you ever heard of this kind of thing? And letting kids honestly express themselves, and then adding information. So definitely appreciate our educators out there. My mom also worked for the CDC for a little bit. So similar to you, I grew up and she was like, this is gonorrhea, this is chlamydia, but it was a scientific explanation of it. So I wasn't super lost, like, oh, sex, the stork doesn't make babies, all these ridiculous things.
That's the only place where I got sex education, because they don't teach that. And Tennessee has laws against sex education, and they only allow abstinence-only education, but not in schools. And the only education I got from Girls Inc., which is like a community org here, was them giving me a baby addicted to drugs and telling me, like, don't have a baby. And this is what it could be like. You was teaching kids. What you was telling?
A baby addicted to drugs?
Yeah, they gave half of us crack babies and the rest of them were regular babies.
Shout out Black Miss Podcast episode on the crack babies.
It's a purposely, I feel like it's a purposely traumatizing experience.
Yes.
And because they think that the best way to give folks sex education is to scare them. But that doesn't work. Actually, they just end up having sex anyways. Right. And then they just aren't protected, or they end up pregnant. It doesn't work the way they think it does. And most of the people I know in Girls Inc. end up having kids for the most part. Several of them have several kids.
I ain't addressing that.
Why did you find that? How did you find that?
She messy. and addressing that. There's definitely some vaccine pushback.
It's
Obviously,
Artwood Word said, I'm gonna need y'all to drop some future episodes on health and wellness, please. I asked my mama to come on and talk about it. She loves
we
stuff like
have.
that.
We know that's
Geechee, what you think? Didn't you teach some kids?
I didn't teach kids sexual education. So,
but like you was talking to them.
What I got to do with teaching kids sexual education, Amber? I mean, I don't really understand. Like
I'm saying you was teaching kids, so you have an
yeah.
opinion.
I mean, I could have been teaching kids how to shoot guns. I could have been teaching them how to grow food.
But I mean, I think you would have a perception on whether it was important or not to provide folks sexual education.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very important. I believe and support sex positive parenting.
They said you traumatized in the chat. Geechee is not traumatized.
Geechee's fine, yo. Let's
also, Geechee, what do you think about the measles outbreak in South Carolina?
I didn't think about it at all.
You don't know nobody there who got measles?
You talking about like now or back in the days?
No, now there's an outbreak right now.
I don't know. I haven't
Your sister and them ain't nobody talking about it?
My sister don't live in South Carolina. Well, my older sister don't live in South Carolina.
Oh, I feel like the whole state talking about it because they talking about it in our group chats.
Yo,
I don't know nobody in South Carolina except for Geechee.
I'm just watching the time. We got a little bit more time before the guest joins. Did y'all want to get into another story? Like I said, we got a huge run sheet. So
which one do you want to do?
It's an upstate, so it's not the whole South Carolina.
It's in the rural part.
My family not from upstate.
Oh.
So I
not meteorologist, microbiologist. She was explaining that it's in the upper rural parts and they have a lower vaccine rate, which is making it hard.
That's unfortunately, yeah. Okay, we got a lot we can cover. We got the
Desi right now.
A few folks asked me about the Desi Bank story if we want to go over that, but we have a few more. What do you?
Wait. What Desi do?
Let's go over that story. Geechee would love that.
Yeah, let's do it. So you will. So you know, are
you high or depressed?
All right. Neither. We sticking with the program. All right, so let's check this out. So hold on. That story came up. We like to cover the Black Miss Leadership class on Fridays. It's kind of a specialty of ours. And thanks to Black Men Build for combining all the information about this story. Company owned by Desi Banks tied to Mossad recruiting ads. So a report this week by Max Blumenthal from the Gray Zone has exposed one of the unlikeliest fronts for Mossad activity in Desi Banks Productions, LLC, the company owned by comedian Desi Banks. Persian language ads registered to the LLC were first ran in September across 19 countries, targeting Iranian scientists and their family members in an attempt to turn them into assets for Israeli intelligence. Another round of ads ran this month was aimed at turning Iranian protesters into informants. Both ad campaigns promoted online forums links to the Mossad. So, Google has since suspended the comedian's account after the connection was exposed in a report by the Gray Zone. So again, we're looking at Desi as a case study, in this case of Black misleadership, but I want our attention to be on Google and the mega corporations involved in this. So Google very clearly is allowing Mossad and them to advertise on the platform. They only suspended the account once they were exposed in a report. So this Google is definitely the primary contradiction here, even though Desi is a problem. So new Mossad recruitment ads exploit Iran's unrest with help from U.S. comedians. So days after anti-government rioters spread mayhem across Iranian cities, Israelis Mossad published a new series of Farsi language online recruitment ads. One of the most recent ads appeared January 14th on a Twitter X account associated with Israeli intelligence. Pay Amiabi featured a short AI video showing an Iranian protester sitting defiantly in the middle of a street, confronting a phalanx of state security officers on motorbikes. We didn't learn from Tiananmen. We haven't learned that this the protester standing in front of the tanks is some AI imaging, or you know. Anyway, this is the image. It's the photo, video. Yes, this looks very AI generated. Look at
you must be going broke.
motorcycles and how they look exactly the same. Again, we got to teach people the literacy skills, like how you can know this is AI. This shit looks fake as hell.
Literacy don't be existing because I be looking at this shit like this definitely looks fake. How y'all not realizing
Yeah, but hey, it's a skill. So your role, Iranians abroad, is vital. The final days of the regime have arrived. If you know someone who's worked in sensitive industries and centers, contact us. Use the secure form below to contact us. Wow. Okay. Now, how's this tie back into
Secure form below?
Yeah, just snitch here. There's still more information about it. Now, the Mossad has placed several recruitment ads on YouTube and other Google-owned social media platforms through Desi Banks Productions, LLC, an eponymous company owned by a Black Atlanta-based comedian known for urban theme. This is so petty. I thought it was hilarious. Stand-up comedy and online video sketches like How Them Pimps Used to Be Back in the Day, Going to Yoga with a White Girl for the First Time, and How It Be with a Skinny Dude with a Big Girl. Banks. Sorry. This is so petty.
How you keeping a straight face?
Is Banks aware that this company is responsible for buying Mossad recruitment ads on Google, or did Israeli intelligence rely on another entity to deceive Banks? So this is an important question because, of course, we'll get into Desi's response next, but there's going to be this sort of deniability.
Deniability.
I didn't know. So Banks did not respond to a September 2025 query from Jack Polson, the reporter who first revealed the role in the campaign. At the time of the publication, the stand-up comic is on tour in Philadelphia. A January 18th after party planned by Banks at the nightclub in Noto, Philly was canceled seemingly at the last moment. So here's more information tying the ad, Google ad transparency. We see the Farsi snitch ad here, and then Desi Banks Productions right behind that. Now, of course, he says, stop believing in the BS. I hate that this is happening to me because I don't even know what any of this is. People are really getting fooled for clickbait. I have kids and would never in my life be involved in something like this. I have never run, proved, or had any involvement with political ads or anything in another language. My business is already working with Google to remove anything that was done without my permission and to figure out how my company name was used. Stop spreading false narratives off random posts when you don't know the truth. This whole situation is confusing and frustrated, and I'm doing everything I can to get answered. This shit sucks, dog, and no, I don't deserve it. So, what do we think? What are we thinking, y'all? There's a few layers there that we could dig into.
I don't know. The minute y'all said Desi Banks, I'm like, all I can imagine is like anybody else who want to be social media famous and get a bag, and everybody want to be a comedian. Like, where we think the bag coming from? Who's connected to who? And do you think any of these? Stop. Do you think most of these people read or know anything that has anything to do with anything? Mainly, I said, like, I remember having, and I don't know how reductive that is, but I don't know. My cousin, when I first got here, working at Grady, and I asked him something about Cop City, and he didn't know nothing about it. But then I asked him something about Palestine. He also didn't know anything about it. So, yeah, I'm just curious. I mean, obviously, it's possible that them people don't be managing their money, their accounts, or they don't got nothing to do with none of that shit. All they do is say somebody take care of it, and they keep getting the dollars.
And that's why I would never do that shit. That's how you end up with your shit taken in a federal investigation.
Well, I mean, I also don't think it's like drastically different from what we've been talking about before, Amber, like how companies might bring you out to speak or do a training or whatever, and like you can never really know the details of what them companies doing and what they whatever and what corporations they tie to. But
unless
again,
unless you look it up.
Look it up. That's true.
I don't think people do it.
I'll be looking all these.
That's what I was going to say. Go ahead.
When people invite me places, I look them up. I look the orgs up. I look up their Google hits.
Yeah.
I'm looking up all that shit because I got invited. I told you I got invited to the Invest Fest shit. And
you gotta go to Invest.
Sound like that thing that Get You was talking about. So I looked it up, and I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm good." I look stuff up though, but I think that also means you have to be managing your own stuff, and I be managing my own stuff because I don't trust people.
Yeah, Well, I mean, I agree that it's a personal responsibility thing. It's just about, do you feel like that's your job? Because Desi has a team around him, and this is another thing about all of these posts in the weird world we live in. Someone said that Fame will be in the DSM-5, like as a mental illness soon. I think that's hilarious.
I for sure believe that because
What?
these niggas is like addicted to being popular. And I said, I'm so glad I was bullied as a child because it don't work on me.
And I think that's the confusion of it's a marketplace, it's political economy, right? Because again, it's not just attitudes and thoughts and feelings. Telling jokes and skits and stuff like that is something that people did online for free all the time. Like that used to be how it was done. But if you've been watching social media over the past decade, as we all have, we know it's now a career path for people. And once it becomes a career path, that's something completely different. So you're seeing these Desi Banks skits, but like this is a science because people are getting paid off of it. So he knows, just like all these influencers, I have to post this many times. They have a schedule of posts. They know when they're going to retweet an old video. They have collab posts ready. They have a team that does the YouTube money and another team that watches the Google Patreon money and all of that. And so I think that is something that people are missing when they just look at one person as a comedian. This person's on tour, and that's the other pipeline I see from Instagram comedian to, okay, now you want to tour because you make more money live, and you want to do these improv shows and all of that. So there's just a career path here that I wanted to point out. So when you're looking at Desi Banks, it's not just a funny nigga from Atlanta making skits. This is a production. Desi Banks LLC is what we're talking about at this point, not Desi Banks, the Atlanta comedian on his own.
So Max is the one who I guess made this public, or
yeah, Max Blumenthal, great.
I know how, I'm supposedly, I don't know, there was some conflict and beef with Max back in the days.
He was on principal with Anya, but they do good work sometimes.
Who, Anya?
Anya.
I thought it was.
I know Anya too, so I said Anya.
Oh no.
But so. And I guess from what I see, he's responding to Desi. Like he said, you received journalistic queries in September 25 about your LLC being used. Yeah, I mean, I don't know any. I didn't even know Desi had a
LLC
business. I mean, I knew what's the other little. Country Wayne probably got something because
absolutely, but that is a business. No, yeah. He's never shied away.
He got a whole. I didn't know he had a whole television series on Facebook. Somebody was telling me because I don't be on Facebook. Yeah. And this nigga I talked to was like, "Yeah, I'm watching these Desi Banks videos because he popping up a video every day for this series." I said,
but I'm also thinking like I guess Max covering it and then us maybe responding. It's like it's almost like, what do you like if you got the people on EYL saying, "Oh, the president is kidnapped. Here's where you need to invest on the oil." Like, I mean, I don't even know if niggas expecting something different.
I hope people make money.
Yeah, I think EYL's in a different bag though because they give lifestyle advice, and I think that's different than a comedian who people just go to for somewhat entertainment. Right, EYL
they be sliding stuff in there. The comedians be sliding shit in there.
Yeah, but I also think like EYL has transitioned into hip hop comedians. So now you got EYL, Desi Banks, Tony the Closer. Like that's a whole like sphere of like I don't even know. So I think they transcend like business owner, comedian, and that's what InvestFest is about. Is literally bringing entertainers and people in there. Because I'm sure one day Desi can come and talk about his LLC. You got to get an LLC.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's an ecosystem.
I have an LLC, so I can't say nothing.
Well, I mean, LLCs we know everything is.
It's just a way to file your taxes and put stuff under your taxes. Like,
I mean, but if you're actually trying to become a mogul, which is what the model again, what if you are Desi Banks?
I'm not trying to become a mogul. I haven't made enough money to actually have to even file taxes under that jump for real. So.
And that's so I was gonna say there's levels, right? Because if you're Desi Banks, what is and again talking about a career path, political economy, like who do you look at like, yo, that's it. That's my OG. I need to go to him. I need to learn from him. Because it happens. Yeah. Drewski, for example, and Kai Cenat were a part of that skit series with Kevin Hart. And so Kevin Hart is, if you're looking at like, oh, I'm Kai Cenat, what is my career trajectory? I want the commercials. I want the big house. I want private. Kevin Hart talks about, being with NBA players and Disney closes down for them and their kids to use the park for the day, right? This is what you're aiming for.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is who's actually coming to you and talking to you. So Kevin Hart, knowing that Drewski's next up, knowing that Kai Cenat's next up, but also Kevin Hart had what was a LOL network, Laugh Out Loud network, where he would take a lot of these talented YouTube comedians who I used to watch back in the day, who they didn't exactly make it in terms of the big level fame, and now they write for him. And now they're coming up with skits, and now they're a social media incubator. And so this is kind of the ecosystem we're talking about here. So I hear you, Geechee. That is then how they end up at an Invest Fest and all those things. I think there was that video, Jared might have covered it, of Issa Rae at the last Invest Fest, where they were trying to show her around and be like, look, we got this, Black Wall Street, boom, boom, boom. You should look. And what they were trying to do was make Issa Rae invest in Invest Fest. So the entire goal was like, I was just so clear. You want Issa to put her money behind this thing, not investing, not trying to make, no, the thing that she's investing in is Invest Fest itself, which is selling us financial literacy advice, all that bullshit. So just wanted to link those.
I don't know. Maybe being there and trying to invite and feel the thing. It's like, I feel like it's more like cynical than that. Like it's like, because I think those people are being paid. Certain people are being paid, and so if anything, it's like, this is how we paid your ass. Like these, their vendor fees and these other fees. This is how we paid you, and of course, we ain't gonna buy them nothing, but let them niggas take a picture with you or something, so we can say that it's an investment. Now you can post on social media.
It gives the illusion.
Yeah, like I think them niggas them niggas something else. How I see it.
Yeah, I mean, it is cynical in the degree that the people who are manipulating them absolutely know what's going on. Like you said, Mossad isn't confused about the ad. Desi's confused about the ad, allegedly. So I agree. It's more sinister than that because there is some intentionality. Well, we talk about this. We know Black capitalism was actually Fed strategy to get us away from movement organizing and revolutionary politics. I also have talked about, I know on this channel we've covered Soundtrack to a Coup. And so that's really fresh in people's minds, these State Department entertainers. But I've mentioned this with Godfrey, who is another comedian who's becoming more and more popular. He's now entered the ecosystem.
He's interesting.
He's an interesting guy. He's talented. He's been in the business for a minute. I used to watch his comedy skits. He's like Dave Chappelle. He used to be skinny before he hit the gym. So I used to watch his comedy skits back in the day from when go look up Godfrey back before he had the muscles. And now
I prefer the muscles.
He's in everything. Well, he was in Rennie's stuff. So again, this is what I'm talking about. There's a intergenerational, just like we need to understand our youth pipeline and development. They understand it. So Godfrey was linked with Rennie, who's a hilarious Instagram comedian. He has his own podcast now, and he talks about flat Earth and random shit like Joe Rogan style, honestly, in a lot of ways. And when he was doing his set in Miami's Improv, in a specifically racist area of Miami, but they have the Improv there, he was sounding like a State Department entertainer. It was wild. So he was openly bragging.
I remember that clip.
Dave was talking about Saudi Arabia in his last special and how happy he was to get invited over there. But Godfrey was talking about going to Russia. Super happy about that, and going to Israel. And he bragged about performing in Israel. And I was just like, bro, what? How is this happening? And also, how are you getting access to these places? He was like, I was one of the only comedians in the US who was able to perform in Russia. And then what does he do? He does he does his funny accents, and then he does the, racist shit about Russia, vodka, bears, cold, they don't like each other, like that type shit. That's all it was. So I go after the show because I'm like, nah, this feels too cynical. This feels too deliberate. This doesn't feel like someone who's confused. So I'm like, this sounds like a State Department.
It's propaganda
thing. Yeah, so here you go. Based on the private search, comedian Godfrey has performed in Israel as part of the Comedy for Kobe tour. So this is
Kobe who?
Part of, it was just wow. And I'm sure he would do it again if the bag was right. So just wanted to echo your point, Ichi, about how deliberate this is.
And wasn't Godfrey like, he was popular before Rennie? Like, I think he came back to use Rennie's new success to bring himself back.
In the new era, he came back. He was in King Batch's skits.
Yeah, he
things
started
like
doing the social media people. Yeah,
that.
but I never saw him skinny. I always thought he was.
I've only seen him buffed up too. And that the clip you're talking about, Lorik, that made me think of this other clip of Cardi B when they were saying that she's pushing the propaganda in Saudi Arabia. And I went down a whole deep dive of like how they bring these artists over there to Saudi Arabia and they give them like these talking points and then they'll kind of push them afterwards. And I was kind of confused because I hadn't seen other people do that. But she did say some weird stuff about like the people in Saudi, the women in Saudi Arabia aren't oppressed, they're rich. And I was like, what does got to do with anything? It's so random for you to just randomly be saying that. And she over there saying assalamu alaikum. And I was just like, why
She's tapping into her ancestral wealth, man.
We're gonna have to talk more about that if we have some time today, because you're clearly still on it. Before that, we have a guest joining us from Black Alliance for Peace very shortly. So before that, I wanted us to just highlight a campaign, an important campaign that our channel has been covering. So if y'all give me 1 second, I'm gonna pull that right up. And we'll air it before inviting on our guest. One moment, please. Okay. Got it.
The United States has become dangerous for members of the global community, and specifically for non-white, non-European people. The world is witnessing massive violations of human rights and the Constitution of the United States as masked agents using unmarked vehicles raid workplaces, homes, and places of public assembly to incarcerate and disappear Black, brown, and indigenous people, and in too many cases, denying them legal representation and basic information as to their whereabouts and well-being to their families and attorneys. Under the current U.S. administration, anyone suspected of residing in and or visiting the United States with or without proper documentation, including U.S. citizens, are being harassed, questioned about their political beliefs, and even detained without due process. This repressive environment has created a sense of insecurity and anxiety for travelers to the U.S., including students and even some diplomats of foreign nations. Even individuals while in transit to other countries have been subjected to harassment and intimidation. It could not be clearer that the 11 cities planned to host the World Cup game in 2026 are blatantly dangerous gathering places to attempt to enjoy the beautiful game. In fact, we're already seeing fans react to the intensified repression in this year's Club World Cup games. The 2025 games yielded a record low average attendance since 1962, with many stating concerns about ICE as their reason for not attending. Given the current conditions, the Black Alliance for Peace North-South Project for People-Centered Human Rights has launched a petition to demand that FIFA and the International Olympic Committee must ban the United States and Israel from hosting or participating in international sporting events. Carlos Sierra of Black Alliance for Peace Southern California recently appeared on the Remix Morning Show to detail the dangerous conditions in LA, specifically, that are not only happening now, but are being rehearsed and crafted to prepare for even greater intensification of carefully coordinated military forces as the game dates approach, ultimately reaffirming the petition's stated demands.
At the beginning of the year, LA has been experiencing, I would say, kind of more intensified raids. by ICE and Department of Homeland Security, and in some cases DEA and ATF, and so there needed to kind of be a response to that. And the reason why we're at the detention center is to kind of like watch, to kind of see where they're kind of transporting these folks from and to like, where are they going? Are they disappearing? Because many of those people in the detention center downtown, LA, where are they going? Do their people know where they are? Some of those people, you know, and this has been confirmed, have already, just like, you know, from the time, and under the length of like 24 hours, are already in Mexico City, or already in another country, in Guatemala, even if they don't live in Guatemala. Like, that's the situation around kind of due process, no due process whatsoever. So we're there for that particular reason. I think words like siege, I think words like occupation are not hyperbole in this context. I think we have to seriously kind of think about the way the kind of counterinsurgency works vis-a-vis the U.S. military.
Versions of what is happening in LA are echoed in all cities on the docket to host a game in 2026. Of course, this is just part of the story. The global community every day witnesses Israel's wanton slaughter of people and pillage of lives and land with the full endorsement of the United States, which continues to fund, arm, and promote Israel's tactics of terror and barbarity. As members of the global community and people of conscience, we demand that FIFA and the IOC withdraw the United States and the State of Israel from hosting or participating in international competition events until such time that both nations demonstrate a willingness to adhere to each agency's core values and further operate in ways that adhere to international law and human rights. The petition is a path to uplift this demand and its position. Sign the petition, share widely, connect with us for deeper collaboration on this united front against our common enemy, and join the struggle for people-centered human rights.
Peace. Good morning, y'all. We have a special guest here to discuss what we just presented. He is no stranger to the platform, comrade from Black Alliance for Peace, and my favorite, a Southside Chicago native. Welcome to the stage, Baba Ajamu Baraka. How you doing this morning?
My pleasure and my honor to be with you all.
So we wanted to get. Go ahead, Amber. Sorry.
I just said thanks for being here.
So we wanted to get started a bit of background information about the campaign. You had a historical narrative about the games and how they've lost attendance over time. So can you get us started there, explaining what are people dealing with? Why are people running from these games that are supposed to be this international celebration of sportsmanship and things like that?
Well, you see, the issue we have is that people are not really running from the games yet. Now, there have been some serious questions now being raised, but I think we need to point out that the Black Alliance for Peace was one of the first formations here in this country to begin to raise questions about the appropriateness of the U.S. hosting not only the World Cup. We took it further. We said that the U.S. should not be allowed to host the World Cup and the Olympics in 2028. And we laid out the reasons why. That basically, this is seen as a reward, an attempt to normalize the kind of outrageous lawlessness that we have seen emanate from this rogue state. The very fact that the genocide, the ongoing genocide in Gaza, could not have happened without it being enabled by the United States of America. And then you connect that to the lawlessness of this armada assembled off the coast of Venezuela and the attack on Venezuela, capturing, kidnapping its president, violating all international norms and international law. And then you compare that and connect up to what is happening internally in the U.S. with the unleashing of this paramilitary racist force called ICE in those urban areas that have significant numbers of African people and Latinos, with the Black misleadership, political leadership in place, with the mission to basically engage in a process of terror, if you will. Supposedly the targeting being the undocumented, but as we have seen over the last few weeks, that has expanded to everyone who is non-white. So those three things together, the fact that you have internal insecurity and you have a U.S. government that is operating as a rogue state, it makes absolutely no sense. And in fact, it is an immoral position for the United States to be allowed to host the World Cup. That's our essential position on this.
Geechee Amber, did you have any question? No, I have one. Sure. So one of my questions would be y'all's strategy around releasing this. So you picked specifically January 15th for this video. And we know that there's been a lot of misunderstanding and misinterpretation, we'll put it lightly, about Dr. King's legacy. So can you explain why Black Alliance for Peace decides to release this video on January 15th and what the significance of that is for our people?
Yeah, no, we don't have any issue with Dr. King and the movement that created Dr. King. We're quite clear that there will be no Dr. King without the resistance movement, and that Dr. King and that movement symbolize the positions that were taken by our movements in the 1960s that crystallized in opposition to the Vietnam War, U.S. imperialism in general, support for the Palestinians, that then Dr. King caught up with in 1967 in his very famous address at the Riverside Church, where he came out in opposition to the Vietnam War. And 1 year later, on that very same date, the U.S. state presented their response to his position, which was to blow side of his head off, basically. So we say we hold up Dr. King and the movement that he represented in his anti-war and anti-imperialist position. So we said, what better time, as we know that the official birthday is going to be on that Monday the 19th. We wanted to remind people that January 15th is his actual birthday. And so we re-embrace the best of our movement by re-embracing Dr. King and helping people to understand the kinds of issues and values that are representative of our Black radical movement, which means we stand in solidarity with all oppressed people, that we struggle against capitalism and consolidating fascism, and that we do this without any apologies. So this was a declaration from our side of resistance. We're not going to allow the consolidation of fascism internally in the U.S. and globally, led by the U.S., without resistance. And so we understand that this resistance takes place on multiple fronts. And so we're not going to defeat imperialism just with this petition that we have released a few months ago and this video, but we understand that we have an opportunity to point out the moral and ideological contradictions, that we can help people to understand the terms of struggle, and for people to understand that the targeting of so-called undocumented is just the first step toward the targeting of all of us. They are preparing, have been prepared to move against our communities en masse. We're going to talk about in a moment the expansion of ICE and ICE detention centers. We need people to understand you have these new detention centers that they are going to be building to hold another 80,000 people. But alongside that, you have something people forget about. You have FEMA and the already constructed camps across the country, sitting there every year being maintained. And maintained for what? And for who? So we want people to understand that basically we recognize that we've got to resist the consolidation of fascism, and that means taking every opportunity we have to make that case.
When you go ahead, Geechee.
Well, really quickly, peace, Jamu. Good to see you.
Peace.
I when you were saying about like King, we started off with King. Like lately, how I've been reading is like trying to see how we are, and for instance, like who's the NAACP of today, who's the NIA, and are we seeing things as clearly as we might study to them and see things? So I guess the two questions is like, and I know you said like Bat was the first to kind of name this thing. Maybe the first question is kind of wild, but like 100 years from now, like what would you say people would be reading into what Bat is done or doing about this thing or saying about this thing, and I guess how it connects to like maybe the larger struggle or objectives, and then the other one is like the U.S. officials' relationship with FIFA and like the power dynamics. I'm curious about, if you could share some of that too.
Mhm. That's a fantastic question. I would say that if we are here, if the human race is still here in 100 years, and that means that we have been victorious, because the contradictions of this global system are such that whatever's going to happen is going to happen in you all's lifetime. Now, unfortunately, I think there's going to be an extended period of fascism. How long that will be will kind of be up to us. But there's no two. Is there going to be 2 more decades of things as they are today? They're unsustainable, Africans. Okay, that you look at the material basis of this system, and you see that it's completely unraveling. That the 3.5 billion people who are living in abject poverty are rising up. The millions of people in the global north who are still confused, but yet they're still beginning to understand, and they're rising up. The people in the global south have been clear, and they are consolidating their forces and are engaged in oppositional struggle. And that's one of the reasons why we see the response from the enemy. The response from the enemy is that we're no longer going to play around with notions of human rights, international law. What we're going to embrace instead is naked force and violence. We're going to maintain the hegemony of the US and the West through the same mechanism that created the US and the West: extreme colonial violence. And so what the Trump administration has done is basically just to be more honest and more clear in their declaration of war, their commitment to full spectrum dominance centering militarism. And we have to be more serious than the enemy. So if we are here in 100 years, I think people will point to the advanced leadership of this BAP formation and its clarity in terms of its analysis of the evolution of this society, the contradictions, and the vision that we are attempting to try to advance. That basically we can transform ourselves and our conditions through struggle. That we need to remind ourselves, and will, I hope, successfully remind ourselves that we, in fact, can build a new world. That these forces can be defeated, that our actively undermining all of us, degrading and dehumanizing us. And we will resist those forces, and we will resist those forces with a positive vision of what human beings, in fact, can be. So, I think people are going to see that this formation has emerged as one of the most significant ones in the history of our people. And I don't want to sound chauvinistic, it's just objective because in your question, you reveal one of the issues we have. We are so fundamentally disorganized. Even back in the day, we were waging war against all of the quote unquote Negro organizations in place. NAACP, Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the Urban League. I mean, Operation Push. There's a bunch of them, and we had our own organizations that were involved and worked, even though we had suffered tremendously by the 1980s and going into the 1990s from the counter revolution that intensified in the 1970s, that basically broke up the radical movement, was successful in creating a discontinuity of our revolutionary forces, so that we have generations that felt compelled to reinvent the wheel. When you stop the ability to transmit information and experiences through the generations, then you have done something very, very effective in undermining your opposition. And they were effective, in fact, in doing that. So this BAP attempt is an attempt to try to reorganize ourselves, to reclaim the Black radical movement, to reclaim the values that and perspectives that informed our movement of internationalism, of anti-imperialism, of anti-capitalism, and some of us say it quite openly, our commitment to socialist transformation. Okay, and so this is what we are doing. Now we have to do this within a very dangerous context, because some of us were even a little bit surprised, even with the ascendancy of Donald Trump, at the speed in which they worked off of the foundation, the fascist foundation laid by the Democrats, to consolidate the fascism in the U.S. And we have to remind our people that this fascism we talk about is not something new. That basically fascism has characterized our existence, our relationship to the settler colonial state since we have been here. That basically what you see, what we saw in the 1930s in Europe, and what we experienced in the southern part of the U.S. for decades after the compromise of 1877 that gave us back to white folks. We see the emergence of fascism. And fascism in the 1930s in Europe was colonial fascism coming back home, if you will. Okay. And so we understand what fascism is. And that's why it's so important as it is consolidating and expanding into the broader population, that our people understand what we're up against and understand the consequences of European settlers embracing this fascist reform, because fascism is no more than a capitalist reform. It is the last desperate attempt to try to maintain the hegemony of capital. And so this environment we're in today is fundamentally different. It's like no other period in the history of this country, I would argue. And so our disorganization and the dangerous environment we find ourselves in, it makes the political challenges so much more intense.
I do have a question. I have been seeing like different like unions pop up with some no FIFA in the US campaigns. Are y'all partnering with any of those orgs to try to push the messaging out as well? Because I know that like normally we don't see them be very like radical in any of their, stances. Right. But I am seeing like some orgs and unions be like, no, we don't want this here either, especially since we know they're gonna like push out homeless folks to bring the games there and stuff like that. So have y'all already been working on that?
I really appreciate that question, Amber. We are moving toward consolidating all of those forces that are now raising this issue. And of course, all of these forces aren't necessarily radical forces, and that's all right. If they're taking a correct political and moral position on this, we will work with them. So what we are doing now is we are entering into what we call our phase 2 of our campaign. And phase 2 is the part where we are now beginning to reach out and develop relations and a base in those 11 cities that are supposed to host FIFA. If we're not successful in getting the games moved, then the next phase of this oppositional struggle will be in those areas where theoretically they are supposed to be hosting these games. So we are starting that process of building those relationships. But in phase 1, where we are now, we are moving to consolidating both national and international forces that have a common call. There's some very powerful forces in Canada, in Europe, and even in parts of the global South. But right now, everybody's moving kind of in different ways. So we've already started the conversation, and we are moving toward some attempt to at least bring some degree of communication and coordination to these forces.
Thank you for that. You spoke earlier about the lack of continuity in our struggle and the results of counter-revolution. So I'm thinking about if we're trying to talk to our people and push them toward this conclusion, right? They might react and say, well, the US and Israel are bad, but where would you want to have the games? What about France? They're bad too. Some people, falling for the okie doke might say China is bad. So how do you respond to people who are saying, well, everything is bad, US and Israel aren't exceptional, why are you guys picking on them?
Well, we say we have a responsibility being at the center of empire. And so our voices should be the most critical, the sharpest, and the one that is primary in terms of raising criticisms of this enemy regime. That's number one. Now, we wouldn't frame it necessarily like that as we engage the people. But what we would engage the people with is that we have a moral responsibility to tell the truth and to stand with people who are being oppressed. And that we cannot, in good conscience, support games being hosted by the U.S. that is responsible for a racist genocide in Gaza. That we can't allow this administration to engage in the massive repression that we see across the country, terrorizing communities, and now brutalizing, tasering, beating even so-called U.S. citizens, and allow that to be normalized. That we should speak out against the fact that you have something like 25 countries that have travel advisories to their citizens around traveling to the U.S. It's just that unsafe. That we want people to understand that even though the U.S. is supposed to be hosting the games, they have slapped travel bans and restrictions on more than 75 nations. And so we say that we can't just let things appear to be business as usual. These are not usual times. And that as Black people in this country, as African people in this country, we have always taken a position, a moral position against injustice and immorality. And we cannot in good conscience support the hosting of the World Cup, but even the hosting of the Olympics in 2028. And this is an important position to take. So that's how we would try to attempt to engage people, that this is all part of not only a struggle against the Trumpian forces, but a struggle against those capitalist forces that stand to make money off of the games, off of the sufferings of other people. And so it gives us another opportunity to point out the vicious character of this economic system and the elites that run it, that they care about nothing and no one but themselves and making money. And that, we don't want to be part of that because we are also feeling the consequences of those contradictions and the inability of our people to live adequate lives where we can address our material needs, where we can't even experience the happiness of having some leisure time, where our lives are characterized by intense coercion and pressure, resulting in people committing suicide, and this massive mental health issues we have in our communities. People are under strain, you know, and we don't have to live like this. People need to understand it, because many people think there's no alternative, and we're here to say there is, but we have to fight for it. We have to defeat this enemy that is committed to upholding these barbaric conditions. And when we change this system, then we have the ability to really see the flourishing of the human spirit. And we can live in peace and in prosperity. You know, that might sound utopian to some people, but for revolutionaries, that has to be the objective, to build new societies. But we can't do it by ourselves. We have to ground what we are attempting to do in the people themselves. The people have to lead. So building democratic structures, informed with our values and ideals, is in fact the task of the day.
I appreciate that answer. I was trying to think of another question that I kind of to build off Laura's question on the, I don't know, I don't want to even call it people, dissenting voices in black spaces, like the entrepreneurial class, and they're like, or the workers who like say that they're depending on a particular thing to happen so that they can have economic resources for themselves, or it's going to be 200,000 jobs or whatever. And how could you online say not to do this thing because black people are going to lose jobs? Like, how do y'all respond to that?
Well, you know, we have the advantage of having a history in our struggle, in our opposition, not only in the U.S. but globally. So we remind people that when we were actively organizing in solidarity with our people, African people in South Africa, and part of that was, in fact, we built a powerful divestment movement, a boycott and divestment movement against South Africa. One of the arguments that were being made by people who really didn't give a damn about black people in South Africa was that same argument, that this is only going to hurt black people in South Africa if there's economic divestment. But you know, so we told them we had already been consulting with, because we were in intimate relationship with all of our counterparts in South Africa, and the line in their position was, we are already suffering. We want to see more pressure put on the South African apartheid regime, and so go forth. That is only going to enhance our ability to make the changes we need to be making internally. So we tell our people today, we are not going to trade off the lives of Palestinians and Venezuelans with jobs, and that basically we have that responsibility to make that kind of choice. And so the entrepreneurs and everybody else that want to align themselves with the enemy, with capitalism, they have that choice. But they need to understand they're choosing to side with the enemy, which means that they are part of the enemy also. You see, we say that 2026 has to be the year of intensified class struggle. I don't love all black folks. In fact, there's the significant elements of them that are enemies. This rapacious bourgeoisie, this petty bourgeois class that has aligned itself with the capitalist system, this black mixed leadership class in all of these major cities, aligned with the Democratic Party, aligned with capitalism, they are prepared to fight and struggle with them against us. I argue that there's no group in the United States of America that hates black poor people more than the black petty bourgeoisie. Okay, so you know, we building a working class base movement here in this country. You know, and we're not going to be able to build a revolutionary movement otherwise. That basically has to be based on the needs and aspirations of the masses of our people. The masses of our people are primarily workers, primarily people who are being cut out, undermined, degraded, exploited by this backward capitalist system. So we absolutely clear about that. So people have to be, and so we have a responsibility to lay these things out. And people have their responsibility to make a choice. If you understand and you decide that you're going to stand with capitalism and imperialism, then that's your choice. But understand the eventual consequences of that decision.
Absolutely. And you've been very clear in outlining what we're trying to build and what we're against. So, just speaking on the building element, I wanted to spend the last part of this interview discussing the North South Project for People Centered Human Rights that you've been working on and that BAP's been developing. So, could you tell us about that? For people who aren't familiar, right? People centered human rights. Why do we say that language versus just human rights? Lay it out for the people.
Well, we step away from this notion of human rights because we know that that idea has been completely and utterly corrupted by the West. That human rights has some potential coming out of the Second World War, but quickly became an instrument to obscure the agenda of the colonialists. See, at the end of the Second World War, you still had something like 750 million people still colonized. And many people thought that uh, things like the Atlantic Charter that talked about the fundamental right of self-determination that was articulated by the U.S. And the U.K. To show up a support for the war, the second war during the Second World War. They thought that was going to apply to them also. But Churchill was very clear. He said, no, 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 no. We're talking about the people behind the so-called Iron Curtain. We're talking about white folks, basically. And the Europeans, after the end of the Second Imperialist War in 1945, they demonstrated that, basically used the military force to try to recolonize the people in their empires because they were dependent on that to sustain their lifestyles in Europe. Okay, so this notion of human rights became hollowed out. You know, we were the first ones that thought there was some potential with this. People like W.B. Du Bois and the NAACP and the Council of African Affairs and with Paul Robeson and others were the first ones to utilize some of the instruments that were produced by the United Nations, like the Convention on Genocide. And we had the very famous call in 1951 from the Civil Rights Congress that said, we charge genocide, meaning Black people in the US said that under that convention, we are suffering genocide. So there was a lot of potential. But, you know, over the next few decades, it became an instrument of imperialism. So we say that if this idea of human rights has any kind of viability, any kind of value for us, it has to be decolonized. Okay. And so we looked at our history of human rights work and its anti-imperialist, anti-colonial, anti-racist character. And we say this is the approach. This has to be the radical, decolonized approach to the idea of human rights. The human rights don't just come from these instruments that are produced by states in the United Nations, as important as some of those are. Human rights to be viable has to emanate from the people, from the needs of the people, from their concrete understandings of what it is they need to live human lives. And so the demands, if you will, the ideals have to emanate from the people. And we recognize too, when we talk about the people, that the construction of the people is a political process. It is in fact a political project. Okay. So we don't enumerate all of these various things that we say constitute people-centered human rights. We say that people-centered human rights emanate from struggle. They emanate from the needs of the people. And the people have been quite clear. They say that for us to have dignified lives, we have to have things like housing, education, access to health care, clean environments, clean water. You know, we want to have leisure. You know, we want to have access to food. These are very basic. But beyond that, we want to be able to experience and live our culture without intrusion, So the people themselves are developing this. We are providing sort of a guidepost for that process, if you will. Okay, so this project, this People-Centered Human Rights Project, is to elaborate and lay the foundation for the work that we started in 2017 when we launched the Black Alliance for Peace. You look at the tagline of the Black Alliance for Peace, and what does it say? It is a people-centered human rights project against war, imperialism, and repression. Okay, so that's been a centerpiece of our work from the very beginning. So now we are elaborating that process, understanding that this idea of people-centered human rights can be a very important instrument in the counter narratives that we have to develop in winning our people. And as we involve ourselves in this ideological war of position, okay. And so we urge people to go to the website, peoples with an S, centered humanrights.com. Please look at the latest edition of the bulletin on domestic repression and militarization that we released the other day. The title of it is Fragmentation, Force, and Fascism, the Architecture of the Repressive National Security State. In that, we talk about the expansion of ICE, of detention centers. We talk about how the U.S. is developing its capacity to be even more repressive in various urban areas. So we want people to go and take a look at that piece. It's a very, very important piece. And we want people to take a look at that. And we want people to consider joining the global network for people-centered human rights, where we are working both in the U.S., but we are working internationally. And part of what we're doing also, too, is, in fact, this campaign to move the games from the U.S. In 2026.
Thank you for that knowledge. I also want to acknowledge someone in the chat raised that today was Paul Robeson's transition in 1976. So another ancestor who embodies the spirit of this work. I did believe we had one question from the chat, and that should probably bring us to our close. And then also shout out the support. Thank you, Murtis Curtis, for the $20 donation. Great show on a Friday. Absolutely.
We appreciate your support.
Definitely. I believe this was a quick one. Can you explain the north-south element? So we discussed people-centered human rights, but what does north-south mean?
Yeah, it's an interesting concept in that we want people to be reminded that when we talk about the primacy of the global South, the non-European world, that's important. Okay, but we need to remind people we have elements of the global South, in fact, in the North. We as African people are part of the global South, but we reside and are being oppressed in the global North. We have African people and other people in Western Europe. We have people all across the so-called northern part of this planet. So we're trying to build structures and relationships between all of us on this planet who are the victims of colonization, but who also bring a vision of liberation. And so that is the idea of the North-South Project, bringing together all of us who are involved in this process of building a revolutionary opposition.
Thank you so much for that. Did you have any announcement for the people? We were able to provide the link for people-centered human rights, also the petition, as y'all enter phase 2 of this campaign. As always, links and sources in the show description. But Baba Ajamu, did you have anything else for the people before we close out for today?
I just wanted to appreciate you all and the work that you all are doing. Keep up this good work. And a special shout out to my homie there from Southside Chicago. And hopefully we'll be doing more work together. But we had a very important point in history. And don't let anybody tell you that we can't win. Okay, it's going to be rough. But if we stay disciplined, structured, and focused, and believe in the inevitable ability of our people to build themselves into a formidable force, we will in fact be successful. So we're going to keep on struggling. We're going to make mistakes, but we're going to keep on doing what we need to do to live up to the history and the responsibility of our people. So I want to thank you all again for allowing me to come. And please don't forget me, bring me back.
Of course, absolutely. We want to thank you for the work you're doing and the work you've done before everyone on this screen to pave the way for us. So appreciate you. And you know you got the open invite anytime, anytime. Thank you so much today.
Appreciate it, Africans. Y'all take it easy. Have a good morning. Thank you.
Peace.
You too. Peace.
That was great. Yeah, someone said hearing from my elders medicine, definitely great way to start my day and my weekend off. We got about 5 minutes left. Bat Week of Action starts today. I think we highlighted that. So join Black Alliance for Peace, a member organization. Black Men Build is part of Black Alliance for Peace, and a lot of the other formations that Amber was referencing that they're trying to organize so that we can have some sort of united front against fascism, which I think that last thing we wanted to raise, somebody had this highlighted. Shout out Stono, always in the chat. We definitely.
It was me. I highlighted it.
Go ahead, Amber. Read this out. Why'd you highlight this?
Stono said we're definitely in a period of increased repression right now, but it's wild to think that if we were living under actual fascism right now, that this channel wouldn't be operating and be allowed to continue to operate. I just thought it was an interesting comment.
Oh, okay. I think I'm missing. Is it saying that people believe that our channel couldn't operate under fascism?
It sounds like a critique of we're not technically in a fascist environment or state, because if we were, then this wouldn't happen. That's what it sounds like. It's reading.
Yeah, I feel like people. I like the comment because I feel like people do use the word the word fascism as like a buzzword right now, especially white people. Like white people are just like, we're in a fascist state, and I think that it's a critique.
No, I think it, to a particular person it might be a good critique, but to broaden the conversation is like, if you're reading about fascism in the past and you don't have like a material analysis of how it evolves and what it changed to, then you can't say, well, this is not fascism because A and B. And it's like, well, that was that time. So if it's not evolving different, then I think I just think it should be interesting how we even term and conceptualize things, and then do we have a ability to evolve that. So of course you could say, well, nigga, you ain't in chattel. Really quickly, you're not in chattel enslavement, but like that doesn't materially tell you like there ain't shit changed since that. Like, yeah, my nigga, you can get a Bugatti now, but you still get shot in the fucking head. Like, so I don't know. I'm interested about that.
Yeah, and Stone, I think can clarify. I wanted to highlight that. First off, I think I misspoke. It's an International Week of Solidarity for Venezuela. So it's a week of action. It's not Black Alliance for Peace alone. It's going to be a broad array of organizations across the world. And I just come back to the George Jackson quote, fascism's already here. That was in the 1970s, that period of counter-revolution that Ajamu mentioned. So I hear it. It's going to look different in every single era, but I don't believe that just because we can broadcast on YouTube that doesn't mean fascism isn't already here. In fact, that's what George Jackson talks about with the democratic fascism, or that he talks about a fascism of many faces, that when we have a period where it seems like there's not as much unrest, and fascism doesn't need to show its authoritarian face. It can show the sort of democratic face. It can surveil you, right? So it can build a case on you. And then when it needs to change faces, oh, now this is that person that we've been monitoring on that YouTube channel for 3 years, and we have this file, and we can put them in the secret police. So I think Ajamu gave us another example that Democrats helped lay the foundation for this. I want to say that Recharge Genocide, the African People's Socialist Party, was raided because they also were raising a campaign to charge the U.S. with genocide before the United Nations. So they had their own FBI repression within this era. That was in the past 5 years that happened. So as Adam was pointing out, right, like they make the camps, they're preparing the camps, and when they need to, they will put you into camps. And this isn't old. The reason I want to again highlight that it's already happened is that Robert Allen, amazing lecture on BLM's archive, check it out, talks about how he was on a list, secret list of people to be put in concentration camps if America were to go full fascist, right? But you're already there. If you already have the list and you already have the concentration camps built, then you're there. It's not going there. You're already there. So I just wanted to take a second to talk about that.
Go ahead, Amber.
No, I just said I think it's an interesting discussion topic.
Yeah, I think it speaks to the importance, and I think even as the Jamu was talking, I think it proves the importance of organizations like that and the importance of, I think, what we say we're trying to do here on the channel, because and I think I mean, hell, if I wish I could, I don't know if we got a feature where you can just pretty much string all of Ricky's comments and responses, but like there's a series of comments that I feel like makes a whole lot of sense. And it also just proves that, like, okay, well, are we able to struggle around these things? Are there people who are struggling around these things so that clarity can be built? And then, like, are you comfortable enough to say that at this point, that is the work? That is a big portion of the work. So even definitions, like, are we using the same definitions? Totalitarianism, I can't even say that, would remove people from the channel. Ricky talks about we have been banned from the channel. Then we talk about, banned from YouTube or monetizing, shadow ban, whatever. And then there has been a regaining of monetization, all this other stuff. And again, if we're talking about like organizing against power, then we have to understand concessions look different. The concessions back then don't look like the concessions today. Like the range then don't look like the range today. And sometimes there's a feeling of progress and range, and really it's like a big ass rope that's gonna get you right. So I don't know. I just think I guess what they say dialectics is why it's very important, because people really do have just like wrong ass ideas, and really are like, well, yeah, even to the point like, oh well, Bobby E. Wright or Amos Wilson or George Jackson said, yeah, but like, are you equipped to like make it make sense here, make it, as people say, make it plain? And you have to be able to do that if we're gonna not die tomorrow.
Definitely an interesting point of conversation. Amber, I want to get you out of here because I know you got some things to do, and we are actually right on time. Yeah. So anything,
I gotta go pick up a generator too.
You do gotta survive in the system where the government is not doing its job.
They said the city of Memphis is putting barbecue seasoning down on the street.
Honestly,
they said this was a new salt truck. It ain't no real salt.
Amber, other than surviving the cold, or maybe that is it. What you got going on?
I'll be chilling inside, literally.
Stay safe.
Me and the dog. I'll probably take him out in the snow though. My dog loves the snow. He loves running around in the snow. So
I'll come in and soak up the whole house, jumping on the couch with wet fur and.
Oh no, I wipe him down. I'm not doing that. I got a towel waiting. We wiping him down. He's not doing any of those things in my house.
Yeah, no question.
But they just sent out an alert that we should prepare for power outages. So now I got to go buy a generator. And my nana talking about, can I bring her a generator too? Lord.
Yeah. So Amber's surviving weather in the USA, which is a challenge for Black people for quite some time now. Geechee, how about you? What you got going on?
Just some the tenants meeting, and some birthday
with the elders.
Yeah, with the and my cousin birthday this week, so I'm gonna be kicking it with him a little bit. And then I forgot about that. I have a board meeting with a board retreat with the neighborhood association. So this is our like first.
What's the budget for the retreat?
I don't really know. Shorty, we boiling. Nah, but I don't know. This is gonna be an interesting one. I know it's, the weather, so I don't know. This is the first one.
Is it gonna snow there too, or no?
Damn, Amber, don't ever let me go, huh? I can't hear what you're saying because I was talking.
I said, is it gonna snow there too, or no?
Oh, I heard. That's what my mother said. My mother is all the way up north and telling me it's gonna snow here. So, yeah, people are getting ready for a snow storm. So that's what I was saying. I don't.
You got some bread, some milk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I was saying I don't know how that's gonna impact that. Is what I'm saying. I don't know how the snow and stuff is gonna impact the retreat. And even we're supposed to have some AUC students, Clark, Atlanta, and Spelman, that we've been working with are planning something, and we supposed to have something on Sunday too. So it's depending on the weather, we'll see how it looks.
If each board member gets a Cybertruck, you need to sell yours.
Nah, I'm not. I already started putting sanctions on other cities and shit. You know what I mean? Like, shit rocking over here. I ain't been that motherfucker a week. I'm ready.
That's a hilarious arc. Geechee Cybertrucks neighborhood council. All right, I'll close this out. There's the poetry potluck if you're in Miami. That's going to be January 25th from 3 to 8 p.m. in one of Miami's Black neighborhoods, Opa-locka. So please come through, check us out. Great time, great vibes. Black Men Build, of course, will be present, but a lot of other community vendors will be there too. Food is free, open bar. You're not going to get much better. I know a lot of people on Instagram.
Open bar.
A lot of people on Instagram threads say Black Miami don't have nothing. There's no community down here. Blah 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 blah. You just don't know.
Hey, I'm stealing that, bro. I'm gonna add politics in it though. Poetry, politics, and potluck.
Potluck. We mixing the politics in there. So come through again if you're in South Florida. Our membership and culture chair Calvin puts this together, and he's
Cal.
So. I'm glad. Yeah, this is what I'm here for. Lord does make me have to face my biases toward Florida. For Ajabu. I'm Southside through blood. That's my mom's side of the family. Southside Chicago. That's my brother's at now. But me personally, I'm a Miami boy. So
I saw that face you made when he said Chicago's the
don't
get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. Hey, but you know what though? I do believe that what Lorick is basically saying is y'all niggas gonna be cold and they gonna be out barbecuing.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. So
wait.
Man, damn. Ricky,
because
I'd be wrong.
No, wait. I'm thinking. Is that the question? Wait. Is that what I'm thinking? It
is. You are thinking.
Yeah,
you might not be wrong.
You
got it. Hey.
But y'all are disappointed down there. I ain't even gonna lie. Like y'all supposed to have it. Y'all are disappointed.
I was about to say
they only have good cocaine.
You got to talk to the Jamaican unks.
Nah, bro. South Carolina got better shit than y'all, bro. That's crazy to me.
It's illegal. What you do?
But you know what? It's because all the revolutionary losers in Miami. That's probably why y'all shit.
That's probably, they do. Like Amber said, it's mostly it's cokeheads playing Hail Hitler at Miami Beach's clubs. So that's what we got down here.
Y'all down there giving niggas headaches down there. That's what y'all do.
Part of a global economy, man. Bring it through. We don't talk about my city like that. Anyway, this has been great.
Bye, guys.
To the chat, to the folks watching the program, catching the replay, to all our people out there, we say peace. If you're willing to fight for it, as Chairman Fred Hampton used to say, and we out.
Black Liberation Media is a collective of Black and African organizers, journalists, academics, and media personalities serving Black and African masses seeking to further grow in their understanding of themselves, their histories, and the African world through entertainment and news. Please continue to like, subscribe, and donate to the channel so we can further serve you and liberate our people. You can also go to blkliberationmedia.org, get some merchandise, and also become a Patreon member and a member for the YouTube. Please do what you can, share, and show your love as we will show ours for you. Black Liberation Media.